Okay, let's start at the super basics.
What is a stock?
What is a stock? I don't want to know the actual definition or what's in the market, anything like that. Just tell me the most basic. Let's say I'm just opening my own store that's like worth $1,000. It's like a super mini store. I don't even know what I'm doing.
See, that's the thing. Like, how do you? I think the stock market was created to give a value to the company, right? So like when you say I created a store, it's $1,000, like you got to decide that like arbitrarily, like. But the stock market is the way that like a lot of people get to vote, and it acts like a kind of like a weighing machine of how much your company is actually worth.
Right. Ideas are worth money. That's basically what companies are. Companies are ideas that are just implementing the ideas, generating products, and getting revenue.
Yeah.
Let's say I have an idea, but I don't have any money. So I go to a bunch of investors and I say, hey guys, this is my idea. I need some money. They say, I'll give you this much money to invest. And I say, "Oh, for this much percent of the company, for 10% of the company, I'll give you $1 million.
Mm.
So I say, okay, this transaction is on a piece of paper. And I say, okay, here's 10% of my company on a piece of paper. And they give me $1 million. Now, what happens is that directly translates to, if 10% of my company is worth $1 million, then 100% of my company should be equal to $10 million. So right now I have 10 shares worth 1 million each. And as I work and keep investing, I get more investors who give me money, who see value in that idea or who don't see value in that idea. So the value of my papers go up or down over the course of time. Maybe more people invest, less people invest. Maybe I split these papers into multiple papers, give it to more
Your shares
people.
get diluted.
Yes. Did I get that definition right, or do you think there's more to it?
Yeah, so I mean, you just described a company that's like starting out and still privately owned.
Yes.
So like when we talk about like the stock market, we're talking about like once they become public. So this is when the same shares you're talking about become open to everyone. Like you and me can go and
The
start
entire
buying.
world. So there's
Yeah,
millions, maybe billions of people investing in
exactly.
all of this. Yeah.
And then there's like there's a U.S. stock market, there's a Chinese stock market. So now all everyone gets to decide how much this company is worth, and if there's more demand, the
Right.
price of each share goes up.
Yeah, and if there's less demand, everyone just sells. It basically becomes a market, right? If
Yeah.
everyone wants to buy apples, then apple prices are going to be high. If everyone wants to sell apples, apple prices are going to be low. Exactly that, right?
Mm,
Demand and supply. When it comes to stocks, if everyone thinks the stock is undervalued, everyone's going to want to buy it, which means the stock price keeps increasing.
exactly.
And if everyone thinks the stock is overpriced, everyone's going to just want to sell it because they're getting good value for it. And then the stock value is going to just go down. The basics of stocks.
Seems simple enough, right? You buy a stock, you hope it goes up. But there's a second part to owning a company, because that's what it is. When you buy a stock, buy a share of a company, you're owning part of the company.
Hmm.
And the goal of a company is to make a profit. So once you own a company, you should also get some of the profit that they're making. So this
Right.
is called a dividend. A dividend is basically just like, okay, you own this fraction of a share of a company. Now you get to get some of the profits. That's what a dividend is.
If you're just following a stock on the website, under the description of the stock, under the ticker symbol, you'll see something called dividend, and then you'll see a percent number written under it.
Exactly.
And what that says is every year the company makes stock prices are worth a certain something, right? Let's take stock ABC right now, and let's say it's worth $100. If the dividend under that ticker symbol says 3%, that means for if every share is worth $100, we get $3 in a year because we're owning that stock and we have stake in the game. And the reason you own stock is because you believe in the potential of the company. For the most part, I think most people, obviously, a lot of people own stocks for different reasons, but you buy a stock because you believe in the idea behind that company and you think that company is going to make it big. And if the company makes it big, if the ideas get better, the stock price are only going to go higher and higher, which means it's a great investment.
Yeah. Some companies give out more dividends than other companies. For example, in that example you gave, right? I think you said like a couple
Three
of percent,
percent.
3%.
Yeah.
Some companies do, 5, 6%. So that means like their profit, they'll like give out that much percentage to
Hmm.
the shareholder. Some companies give like very very less. We're talking like 0.01% or
Some
something.
companies don't even give dividends.
Actually, you're like thinking like, why would I buy those shares? But you would, because like that profit they're making will go back into the company, and now they get to drive growth for the company, hire more people, get more equipment, and sell more products.
If the money is not going to the investors, it's going to the company. So the company is basically investing in itself. which is great. I think for the most part, it's just growing companies don't give out dividends because they want to
Yeah.
invest in themselves and they want to grow so they can make bigger profits. It's good for investors because the stock price itself goes up because the company is investing in itself. I believe companies that have already grown are pretty stable, more on into their mature part of their life. Those are the companies that give out dividends, and the companies that just want to stay as they are give out more dividends. For example, I think Verizon is one of the companies that gives out high dividends, like around
Exactly.
6%.
Yeah. And then the last thing you should also look at is price to earnings ratio. It's just the price of the current share of each share divided by the earnings.
If that's high, that means the stock prices are overvalued, and if
Overvalued.
it's low, it means the stock prices are undervalued, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Um,
Typically, like right now, tech companies specifically are trending between like 30 times price to earnings ratio, meaning that like
they're like 30 times overvalued.
if they were to like close down the company and give everyone the money back, like they should be earning 30 times as much as earnings right now.
Right,
So that
right, right.
they should be growing 30 times
Yeah.
to justify the current stock price.
Hmm.
Basically what that means.
And you think that's because of the AI boom right now?
I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I have no idea why it's like
Sure.
30 times. Some of the companies are like 200 times price to earnings.
Sure.
That specifically is AI.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like, because their earnings might actually be 100 times more
Right,
than
right.
what it was last year because AI boom.
Yeah, I was looking at a few companies. Apple's at around 28, I think. Amazon.
AMD is at like 285 times price to earnings.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So AMD is 280. Nvidia was around 80. Amazon is 52. What's a normal price to earnings ratio
To say what normal is, you should look at the historical, what it has been for the past maybe 2 decades.
for the company or for the industry, for the sector?
For the sector, yeah,
Okay.
like tech sector, you should see like, and when I say tech sector, I mean like hardware, semiconductor, separate from like software, because
Oh, you're saying go into the details.
100%
Like,
going into
yeah,
details,
okay.
because like one more thing that matters a lot is profit margin.
Right.
So like specifically for software companies, they have much higher profit margins than like a hardware company.
Yeah. So they're expected to have higher price to earnings ratio.
Yeah, because like a new user that they gain, for example, let's say Netflix,
Yeah.
right? So a new user that they gain, the same technology stack is there. New user that they gain is just another source of revenue.
Right.
Whereas for let's say in Apple, if they had to sell an iPhone, that's like each iPhone that they sell, there's some cost they had to pay for parts.
Making the parts. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So
Yeah.
the profit margins scale differently for software companies versus hardware companies. That's why typically software companies are like so much, they grew so much faster.
Right.
Right? Like
Right.
Apple's been around for like what, 60 years? I don't know.
Sure. Food companies, I think the thing is advancement is not necessarily too important. It's just as long as people keep liking the product, right? If something's not broke, don't fix it. That kind of stuff. What
Yeah,
do
I
you think?
think so. I think also it's, you bring up an interesting point where like you should look at what things you buy in everyday life.
Right.
For example, like what toothpaste do you use? For me, someone recommended I should use Sensodyne.
Yeah.
So like then I should like go see like, okay, like why are people talking about this, and like see if they're growing, then maybe it does make sense to buy a toothpaste
Yeah.
company share, right?
If 9 out of 10 dentists recommend Sensodyne, not sponsored, guys. Get Sensodyne, stop. I was gonna say, yeah, that's actually how I go about sometimes getting my stocks. I really desperately wanted the PlayStation 5. And a few months before the PlayStation was coming out, I just ended up getting, expected price was around 500 bucks, and I ended up getting $500 worth of Sony stock. Because I figured if the PlayStation comes out and it's great, the Sony stock is going to go up, which means my stock goes up. And even if I were to just sell that stock, what I spent was how much money I spent on the PlayStation. I just spent it a few months before. And if the PlayStation was great, stock went up, I could sell those stocks, make $100 profit, and get the PlayStation at $100 discount, kind of, right? If the PlayStation was extremely bad and Sony stock dropped, maybe I wouldn't get the PlayStation. And a lot of things, whatever I buy everyday products, when I buy stocks, I'm a little biased towards getting stuff I use because I feel I trust those companies more.
When you have a kid one day and they ask for the PS7 or 8,
Yeah.
you should just buy them Sony stock and
I
be like, if the stock goes up, then you can afford a PS5.
Hey, when I was a kid, I didn't think about this, but when I was a kid, back in 7th grade, I wanted to get an NVIDIA graphic card. If my dad had spent that money on NVIDIA stock instead of the graphic card, It was like super cheap even. It was like probably what, $100 something? It'd probably be like $2,000, $3,000 at least now, I want to say. Probably more, maybe
Yeah.
10,000, I don't know. So I'm just saying, if your kids say get a product, maybe think about the stock.
Actually, no, that's actually an interesting
Because I feel like kids
strategy.
really know about the next generation. Like,
It's true.
you don't think that. You think you know the world, but kids know a lot
I mean,
more.
marketing is working on them, right? So like,
Yeah.
you should listen to them and see what they're talking about.
Yeah, sometimes I think about the products I wanted as a kid, and I'm just like, I shouldn't have gotten the product. I should have just gotten stock. I'd have been so much more richer.
Why didn't you buy a house when you were 7 years old? Why are you
I
learning
could have
about
if I invested in stocks when I was 2 years old.
the interest rates were so low back then.
And then by 10, I'm into real estate. I own like 3 houses. I'm like buying and selling. By 14, I'm a multimillionaire.
A
This is the
compound
dream.
interest, guys. Compound interest. Warren Buffett gives like two advices. One is start early,
Yeah.
or two, or end two, outlive your peers.
That's actually pretty good
and he's
advice.
doing both right now. He's like 90 some years old. That this podcast is only for educational and informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or other professional advice. So this is just us talking about what we like about investing.
Yeah. You've been listening to Soorya Ramesh.
And John Ravi.
You've been listening to Two Brown Accents.
We'll see you guys in the next one.